Hi you guys, it's Lisa, or some people like to call me Lily, and this is Rosena Ranch Paint Nights. This is going to be the 7 p.m. fluorescent sunset painting that we are going to be working on again today. And for those of you who missed it, this is a great opportunity because this is going to be really easy for you guys to follow along. If you guys need to catch up, you guys can just pause the video. This is going to be recorded so you can come back at any point and finish your painting. So in order to get started, what we are working with today is our 11 by 14 canvas. We are also going to be using our 1-inch chip brush and our small blue chisel brush. The 6 colors we are using is going to be a mixture of white with fluorescent yellow, a fluorescent pink, a fluorescent orange, a solid black, a solid white, and a primary blue. And this is going to be our end product. So as long as you guys have everything set up, I do recommend for this one to go ahead and use a blow dryer. But key with the blow dryer is keep it on a very low heat setting. You don't want your paint to crack. So just find your lowest heat setting, or if you guys want to use the cool setting, if you've got that on your blow dryer, that would work great too. Let's go in and get started. So just get your stuff together. Make sure you have your water for your water cup, and you've got your wax paper down so that you can mix any paint colors later. And I'm going to show you guys my little setup. Okay, so as you can see right here, we've got our 11 by 14, and this is going to be our canvas. Now I have it set up portrait style. So portrait means it's going to go long ways up and down. When we say landscape, it's going to go long ways side to side. And again, we are going to be using our chip brush. This is our 1-inch chip brush. With these guys, these are great for blending acrylics, which is what we are working with today. However, sometimes they can shed, so you might have to wiggle it in there and just lift up any loose bristles that might get into your painting. And then we're going to be using our small chisel brush, which is just as a flathead, nice and small, precise. And those are the only 2 brushes that we're going to be using. I have some paper towels here. You might be going through a little bit more than I am. I'll break for a minute just so I can go and change out my water when it gets really gross. You have your reference photo is going to be on the bottom right. So if you guys ever trying to figure out what I'm trying to do, or just use it as your reference. And then on the upper right hand side we have all of our paints. There's not going to be too much mixing of colors, but there will be a little bit. So we have our wax paper below it, and the wax paper is great. You can get that in the deli section, Sam's, Costco, everybody carries it. It's dry wax paper, so it doesn't absorb the paint and it makes it last a little bit longer while you're working with it. Alright, well, let's dive in. We're going to start off with our chip brush, and what I want to do is I want to find my middle of my canvas, and I want to move about an inch above. So I'm probably going to start off somewhere about right here with my sunset. So let me go ahead and just dip it into the white and the yellow and really load up your brush. Load up your brush with color. And we're going to start, let's just eyeball it about here. From one side, I'm just going to streak it across and go to the other side. And as you can see, I didn't have enough paint on my chip brush to continue that. I'm going to go back and forth. When you start seeing little streaks like this on the side, that means you do not have enough paint on your brush, which is fine. I'm going to go in and get a little bit more of that color. And I'm going to come back again. And I don't necessarily have to mix that white with the fluorescent yellow because I want it to look a little streaky, like the natural sunset. I'm going to just go up a little bit. My line doesn't have to be perfect because later we are going to clean that up. And just go back and forth, getting those streaks. Oh, see, already got a little bit of hair in there. That's fine. Get some more paint. And what I want to start doing right now is just start arching it up like a rainbow. Because the one great thing about acrylics is while they are wet, they are fantastic at blending colors. Got a little bit of hair. So I want to start making a rainbow shape. Just arching it in a half U. We're going to go all the way up, right there, and continue brushing to the side. Now, what people refer to as gallery or canvas wrap is your picture is going to continue on the sides of your canvas. So we're going to go ahead and just paint that side. So our pretty picture is going to continue out. And what we can do at this point is without cleaning your brush, you want to leave that yellow in there so it's going to blend nicely, but go ahead and dip it into your orange paint. And you only want to dip it, let's say, about 1/4 of an inch, so you just are loading up the brush just ever so slightly. And I'm going to start from one corner and I'm just going to do a little rainbow effect without even touching the orange yet. I'm not touching the orange quite yet. My brush is shedding quite a bit. I'm going to get in there with my finger because I could clean it up later. Okay, and what I want to do is slowly start dragging that orange color into my fluorescent yellow. And when I mean dragging it down, you are going to go all the way down because we don't want to see a plain sunset. We want to see lots of color and variation. So I'm actually going to go all the way down. I'm going to go straight across towards the bottom and I'm going to start doing that little curve. And I like that. I'm pretty happy with that color. And I'm thinking I might need a little bit more orange because I really like warm sunsets. So I'm going to dip a little bit more orange into my chip brush. And I'm just going to drop a little hair in there. Just going to go back over and go a little bit down more, adding in that orange. A little bit more orange in my sunset. I like that. All right. And don't forget when you're adding the orange that you're going to have to go to your side and make sure you're continuing that orange color for the gallery wrap. So you want to continue that color onto your side canvas. And the next color we're going to jump into is our pink. Now for pink, we do need to go ahead and wash out our brush really well. We don't want it to start creating a funky, non-fluorescent color that we're not going to like. So go ahead, give your brush a good wash, and make sure you dry out your chip brush well on your napkin. And once you have that done, we're going to go ahead and we're going to dip it into the pink fluorescent. Okay, I got about 1/2 inch of paint on my chip brush, and what I want to do in the beginning is I don't want to touch my orange. I just want to go just above the orange to begin and do that rainbow effect. We're just doing a slight curve. And once I get that about 1 inch over, I want to slowly maybe blend some pink into that orange. And if you get pink down here, that just looks even cooler. It's a nice streaky sunset with some colors. Remember, don't overthink it. If you're overthinking it, you're not having fun. Another thing to say is take a deep breath, because sometimes we take it too seriously and we overthink things, and sometimes you just gotta stop and breathe. Because you know what? We're all stuck in this quarantine together. We all miss our beach. Can't wait to go out and roast some s'mores. Go to my beach again. That's why we're doing this beach painting. It's because we're missing the beach. Alright. Now, let's go ahead, since we have a little bit of orange on here, clean out our brush. And we're going to add some blue in there, make some purple highlights. Dry off your brush really well. And we're going to dip it into the blue. I got a pretty good amount of blue on here. And I don't want to touch my pink again yet, so I'm just going to do those little corners that have the white canvas showing. And I want to cover this corner. And remember, everyone's sunset's going to look different. We're all going to look the same. Some people will have more of one color, and it's all good. It looks beautiful. And what I'm going to do before I start blending is I'm going to cover my sides of your canvas. Cover those white canvas sides. And don't forget your top. I come over here. Don't forget your canvas top. So I'm going to just rub in some blue on the top. Okay. Now I can start blending that blue into my pink. And I'm going to do that ever so slightly. So just start dragging that blue into that pink, creating a nice little mixture of purple, streaking it across. Sometimes you're just going to see a little bit of that purple popping through that pink, and that's exactly what I want. I don't want too much blue going on, but I like that streakiness. I like that purple popping through. And I am happy with that one. Alright, so what we're going to be doing next, let's go ahead and clean out your chip brush again. Your water should be looking pretty gray and muggy, which means it's probably time for a water change. But while we are doing that, I'm going to go ahead and pull out my blow dryer. And I'm just going to make sure that the sunset is nice and dry before moving on to our ocean, because we don't want these two lines to mix and make an ugly green in our water. So let me just blow dry it real quick. And remember to keep your blow dryer on the low heat setting. You don't want to have your paint crack. Okay, that's dry to the touch right now. So I'm going to change out my water real quick, and I will be right back. Alright, I am back with some fresh, clean water. And now what we are going to be working on is our ocean below. So with a clean chip brush, we are going to grab a huge glob of blue and start working on our horizon. And what I do is when I'm starting to do the horizon, I don't want to start right up against that yellow because I don't feel comfortable yet. So I'm going to start off just below it until I feel more comfortable. Okay, and get some more blue on my brush and start working in more paint. Side to side. We are just making sure there's no more white canvas showing. Okay, get more paint. Now what I want to do is turn it to the side, and what I like to do is I like to wiggle it up to that horizon. So just back and forth, wiggle, wiggle, wiggle. Doesn't have to be perfect because we will clean it up later with our chisel brush. But I want to get pretty close to that horizon line. Okay, so just start down here, wiggle, wiggle, side to side, just up until you get to that beautiful sunset. I want to make sure I'm covering all that white. Slowly going across. Cover up all that white. Because we are going to clean that up later. So now we can just take a deep breath, relax, have fun. Because now we just get to fill this whole thing in with blue. Yep, just dive right in. Use that blue. Don't be perfect. We're just covering it. And you know what's crazy is we've got a good portion of our entire painting done already. After we get this blue water, it is just adding in all those fine details, and that's it. Now make sure your paint isn't too thick. You're not laying it on too thick because then it's going to take that much longer to dry. But do make sure that you are covering all of your white canvas. And what that means too is go ahead, lift it up. Oop, there you are. And make sure you're also covering that water on the sides of your canvas. So go ahead, brush down, get some paint on those sides. Don't forget your bottom. Okay. And turn to this side. Making it a gallery wrap painting. So it's going to continue on all sides. You're going to see that beautiful water and sunset. Okay, make sure if you touched your canvas, you probably took off some paint, so make sure you just go over that real quick. And with this blue, it is going to need to be completely dry. I'm going to put my chip brush in my water. So you are going to see right before your eyes that while I am drying this, we are going to go from this beautiful glossy sheen to a completely flat, no sheen as soon as it's completely dry. So I'm going to get out my low heat setting blow dryer and I'm going to quickly go over it and make sure it's completely dry. Oh, right, and you see how that went from glossy to completely flat. I am completely dry. I know I got some blue on my hands from earlier, but I am dry. So what I'm going to do next is start to work on our sunset sun. And for this, we are going to pull out our chisel brush. So what I'm going to do is a little bit different from our reference photo. I'm going to do a nice half sun just going into that horizon, that beautiful sunset. So I'm going to go ahead and load up on my white brush. I went and loaded up the white. And I'm going to find my center. Remember, it doesn't have to be perfect. Find my center, a little dab of white down there. And let's just use your chisel brush to drag a line just barely touching that water across and make a nice big sun. And again, you can just go over it just to clean up that line where the water touches the sun. Just go back and forth, cleaning up that line. Slow brush stroke. Get some more white. And I'm going to start, and again with that little, like I said, rainbow effect, we're going to just do a little rainbow. All the way over. There we go. And I'm going to fill it in. You got that beautiful white sunset making me miss that beach. This kind of looks like the beaches though, a little bit more tropical. Gotta fly to get to these beaches. Alright, so we have our little half sun. And while this is wet, this is when we get to kind of make it look a little bit more realistic, and I'm going to just clean up that brush. And I'm going to go ahead and dip the chisel brush into my fluorescent yellow from earlier. And what I'm going to do with that little bit of fluorescent on here is I'm going to start on the outside of the sun, and I'm just going to brush a little bit of color in. Brush a little bit of color in. And I'm going to continue to do that on both sides. Brush some color in. Brush some color in. And that's just going to have it blend a little bit more naturally into your sunset. And you can do that even higher up. Just brush a little bit of color in. You can even drag it out a little bit. Make it look like some clouds might be down there. I don't need that sun to look perfect, so let's just brush some color in. Maybe all the way across. There we go. Make that sun just kind of fade and melt into that sunset. I like it. Alright, hopefully you like yours too. I'm going to go ahead and clean that chisel brush now. And now we're going to start focusing more on the water. So for the water, as you can see in the reference photo, we have a lot of rippling in the water because water is not still. It's going to pick up the light from the sunset. So we are going to go ahead and make all those little ripples in the water. And what I want you to do is make sure your brush is dry. But we're just barely going to put a little bit of white on the tops of our chisel brush. So gently just dip the little tips of your chisel brush. Just a little bit. Oh, sorry, there we go. And we're just going to go all the way across. There's no rhyme or reason to this. You just kind of start wherever you want and very, very ever so lightly put some pressure down, just very light. You can make them long lines. You can make lines that go a little bit down, straight, however you feel, because water does whatever it wants. It doesn't look the same. That light's just hitting all those little ripples that are being made in the water. So, get a little bit more paint. I'm going to come down here. Maybe do a little bit bigger of a ripple, because as things get closer to us, they tend to get a little larger too, huh? I'm going to do some small ripples. Again, this is something that you don't need to overthink this, because if you do overthink it and you go a little overboard, you usually get upset with yourself after. You go, I got too into that. I thought I needed a bunch and I really should have stopped. So don't overthink it. This is supposed to be fun. Just do a few here and there. Remember, we're just building up. Lots of different little details that just get added to it, and then you see it all magically just come together. Now my paint's a little dry on my brush. I'm starting to see streaks, so I'm going to get a little bit more. And maybe a little tiny ripple up here. Just wherever I see too much of a gap, I'm going to add some ripples. There we go. Some small ones, some big ones. Just adding it in. Okay. And again, remember, if you're doing gallery wrap, you do want to continue it on the sides, so don't forget your sides. They need a little bit of ripples too. There we go. Now let's go ahead and clean out your brush. And we're going to show the reflection in the water. So we're going to work where the sun is going down, and we're going to put some yellow into the water for the sun and that sunset. And it's going to get a little bit bigger, and as we get closer and drift off, that sun's just going to kind of fade into the water, so we're going to get a little bit more narrow as we go down. Dip your brush into the fluorescent yellow, like so, just a little bit. And you're going to start just below your sun. And like I say, you just can go maybe about the length of your sun, and then come back down, add a little bit more yellow. Add some more paint. Maybe make that a little bit longer. And then as we come down, it's not right below each other. They're kind of all sporadic, just because they're picking up off of the little ripples in the water. So you can just stagger your lines, and they're going to get smaller and smaller as we go down. Let's go over that one. As we go down, it's just going to get smaller. Because our sunset is showing colors in the water, and that sun is just fading away. You can see it's kind of hard to see the colors on this camera because of all the bright lights, but when I pull it away, you'll really be able to see that bright yellow in that water. And with this bright yellow in the water, we also want the water to reflect a little bit more of the colors up here. So go ahead, clean out your chisel brush, and let's add, a big fan of pink, so let's add some pink. Why not? Let's add some pink. Okay, so I've got some pink, And what I'm going to do is kind of more near the edges. I'm going to add a little bit of pink in my water. Just kind of like we did with the white ripples. The pink is picking up all those beautiful colors from the sunset and putting them in the water. It doesn't have to be perfect. We can have some pinks over here. I like a lot of color. Yeah, just drag it from the side in. Get some pink in that water. Now you got some pinks going on. Go ahead and wash out your chisel brush. Dry it off on your napkin. And the next thing we are going to be diving into is our silhouettes. So first things first, the best way to clean up any lines if you don't feel that they're perfect is going to be now. So we're going to go ahead and get our black paint. Go ahead and dip your chisel brush in your black paint. And really, you could start anywhere. I'm going to go a little bit into the sun. And I'm going to commit. And once I commit, I'm just going to put my brush down and drag it all the way out to the edge of my canvas. And do it again, go over and drag it all the way out, and this is the chance where I can really clean up that line if I wasn't too happy. And make sure you are also just putting a little bit of paint on the side of your canvas. Don't forget the sides. And I'm going to just freeform a little piece of the island coming out. Let's do just like that. Once I'm happy with that shape, really simple shape, I'm just going to go ahead and color this in. I know I'm taking away from that beautiful sunset, but you're just making it better. That's all. Alright, so go ahead, fill that in. If it's a little streaky, don't worry, because you can always come back with a second coat and make sure you really, really fill that in. And again, with the sides of your canvas, don't forget, you don't want it to look like that, so go ahead, continue that piece of island coming off your canvas. And we're going to do the same for the other side. Go ahead and get your chisel brush. And I'm going to go partially into the sun, and I'm going to commit. And I'm going to drag that line all the way out to my canvas, just like that. And go ahead and make a little shape. Once you're happy with that shape, go ahead and fill it in. Got my little shape filled in. I'll clean up this bottom a little bit. And I'm going to make sure I get that side of my canvas. Alright. Now from here we can move on to our palm trees, which is probably what you guys are all fearing the most. But it's simple. Don't worry. What I'm going to do first, get some paint on my chisel brush. And I'm going to find a spot. We're going to work on the palm tree closest to us. So we're going to work on the one that's going to come here and end right here. But what I want to do is I want to get a starting point, so I'm going to do a little dot first. And we're going to connect the dots. So this dot is going to end right there. I say right there. And we're going to go to the bottom right corner. I'm going to go about an inch up. I'm going to put a second dot. And what I'm going to do with my chisel brush turned to the side, so it's barely touching the palette, we're going to just go and commit and drag all the way down till we connect those dots. And palm trees aren't perfect, and they do grow super slanted, as you can tell from In and Out. We love In and Out. Hopefully you guys do too. And I'm just going to drag all the way down again. And I need more paint because it's getting streaky. So start at the top. Make sure it's nice and skinny at the top. As we get closer to the bottom, we're going to fatten it up and turn our chisel brush to the side. There we go. Thicken up that trunk. And I'm going to continue it all the way off the canvas. Now for our second palm tree, we're going to do the same thing before we start working on the leaves. I'm going to make it a little bit above the first, so I'm going to put a dot right here. And my second dot, I'm going to make it about an inch above the other palm tree, so I'm going to do it right about there. And again, connect the dots. You can have it curve, you can have it go straight, whatever you want, because palm trees have a mind of their own. This one's going to kind of curve a little bit. There we go. That one really curved. I'm going to get more paint, and I'm going to go back over, and I'm going to thicken up that trunk again. Make it curve a little bit more. Clean up that trunk. There we go. And I'm going to make sure it continues off the side. Oops. There we go. Have it continue off. And now down here at the bottom right, we're going to go ahead and give ourselves a little piece of the island, because this makes a perfect area for us to sign or give our little signature afterwards. So I'm going to give a little piece of land. Start up here. Alright, I'm happy with that. We're just giving ourselves a little land to work with. Fill it in. Continue on the bottom. Don't forget your bottom canvas. On the side. I'm going to fill all of that in. Okay. Now I got a little piece of the island. Get some more black. And I am going to start, let's say right here, and just make a slightly curved line all the way down, touching my sand. And then from here, I'm going to make it, always go skinnier, so I'm going to make it a really skinny surfboard leaning up against this palm tree, because it's really, well, it's almost impossible to make it skinny again, but if you make it skinny in the beginning, you can always make it a little bit wider after, but you can't make it skinnier. So always start off, little is better, and then work your way from that. I'm going to round it some more until I like the shape. Fill it in. There we go. Got a little surfboard just hanging out there. And now I'm going to get a little palm tree up here. Now I just have a little solo guy. So take a little chisel brush. And remember, you can have him down here, you can have it up here. I'm just going to have him start, and I'm just going to stroke down just with a slight curve. I'm going to go back over, make that trunk a little bit thicker like I did with the others. And the trick to palm trees is I like to think of them as little stars with an extra leg. So I like to do about 6 palms, and of course one of the palms I like to do straight up, and then I like to kind of make a star shape. Get a little arm here, get a little arm here, come down, yeah, kind of just like a star, but I'm going to give him an extra little leg down here. And because he's farther away, what we are going to focus on is just getting a little bit of those leaves detail, but the further away things are, the less detail and the less in focus they are, right? So these palm trees are going to have a little bit more detail with their leaves versus this one way back here. I'm just going to use, I'm not going to dip my brush in any more black because I want there to be very little black paint on my brush, and I just want to lightly with the little paint that's on there, flick in some leaves, just very lightly. You almost don't even see it. And if you ever see palm trees naturally, they always get a little bit thicker and longer closer to the middle of the tree, and they tend to get shorter on the top. So the leaves are always shorter, and then they get wider and longer as they get down to the bottom. And they're usually heavy, so it's pretty rare you're going to see a nice straight up leaf like this, but sometimes you do. But usually they like to fall to the side. So we got a little bit of a fuzzy palm tree going. Make this little guy a little bit longer. Alright. And now let's get started with this one. Now let's go back to what I told you about doing a star shape. I always like giving it a straight up one, straight up line, and then I like to give it a little curved out, a little curve. We're going to overlap, it's fine. And maybe down here. Oh, we're covering that beautiful sun. I'm so sorry. And for that one, I think I'm going to keep it at 5. I don't want to cover up too much of that beautiful sunset. So come back in, get your paint, and we're going to go a little off the canvas here. But let's start with that first line. 1. I'm going to make that curve. 2. Make that star. 3, it's going to go over into that other palm tree. 4, 5, and let's just do 6 down here. Alright, well, that wasn't too hard, was it? You guys probably need to take a deep breath at this point, right? Don't stress out, don't think too hard over it. If you think too hard, you will not enjoy it. You will not have that much fun. So what we're going to do is, again, I didn't dip my brush back in the black paint. We don't want very much paint on here. If you do have too much paint, go ahead and just rub it off on your wax paper, because you really don't want much paint. And again, we're going to start in the base, so the center of the palm tree, and you want to make little leaves with the little paint that you have on there. But as you get closer to the end, you want them to get smaller. And you see the sun coming through on those. Remember, they're a little heavy, so It's up to you how you want your leaves to look. If you want them, you can use the side of your chisel brush and make really, really tiny, tiny leaves that just get smaller and smaller as they get to the end, which is a nice look because you see a lot of the sun coming through them. Give it a little bit of leaves up here. Okay, and this little guy's straight up, so we're gonna just give him some leaves. Remember, longer at the base, smaller at the top. Longer at the base. I'm just flicking, a light flick. Smaller at the top. A little bit longer leaves down here. Don't make it look so perfect. This is nature. And give it some leaves up here. Okay, don't forget this little guy. We are overlapping and that's fine. Make sure I don't have too much black paint. I'm going to start off with the guy standing straight up, and we're going to go ahead and give him some long leaves coming straight up, getting shorter. And again on this one, longer on the bottom. There we go. Longer, getting shorter. And you can tell I'm focusing too much on this. I need to take a deep breath. There we go. I like it. Almost when your brush is dry and it doesn't have that much paint, you're going to see a lot of that beautiful detail come through. So really make sure your brush is pretty dry. And come up over here. It's going to get shorter, longer, longer, longer. And this one just kind of blends in to the other one. You don't see it as much, which is fine. All right. Remember, don't overthink your palm trees, and they will come out nicely. Okay, now at this point, I want to add a little bit of shadowing. So with the black that you already currently have on your brush, I want you to go ahead and dip it into the blue and get a good amount of blue because you don't want this to be too dark. And I'm going to just mix those two together, and it's going to make a grayish blue, which is what I'm looking for. And I'm going to take that gray blue and go right below that island and streak back and forth. Just, I want to add some shadows because that island is casting a shadow into that water. So you want to add some shadow in there. Add over right here. And again, the same thing, maybe right where the island touches the water, add a little bit of that gray blue. Make that shadow casting in the water. Pull from the sides, so pull from the sides in. Continue it off on your sides of your canvas. Okay, we are just about done. I'm going to clean this off really well. Really, really well, because I'm going to do a finishing touch with white. Okay, once I got my chisel brush all clean, get a little bit of the white paint. And use your wax paper to get the excess off. You really don't want very much paint on here. But what I want to do is give it a little highlight in the water. So I'm just going to pick two places, give it a little gleam, glistening water, you know. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take it and I'm just going to very lightly touch it, touch the canvas, and make a little line. And we're basically making a little mini T. And that's just going to be our little highlight in the water. And I feel like maybe the sun's hitting the water a little bit more in the middle. So I'm just going to make another little T right here. Just so it's got a little bit of a glisten in the water. And what you can do is you can, once this is completely dry, this is the perfect area for your signature. So what I'm going to do is use the tip of my chisel brush and dip it in white. And I'm going to sign my signature this way. Just like that. Nice little place to put your signature. And this still needs time to dry, but you guys, that is all there is to it. You guys have finished. Should have been pretty easy. And again, you can always pause it as you go. But here is our completed. Now you can kind of see the bright colors. All the white lights made it kind of look a little bit muted. But yeah, there we go. We've got our beginning picture. And this one has a little bit bigger of a sunset. But yeah, there's your painting. And you guys, I would absolutely love it if you guys do this painting with me. If you can go on my About Me in my YouTube video, or my YouTube channel I should say, and if you click on the Facebook, you can go ahead and take a little picture of your painting and then post it on my Facebook. I would absolutely love it because I can't see it, of course, on YouTube. However, if you guys want to also stay up to date on what we're working on our Tuesday and Thursday night classes, then go ahead and sign up. You can either subscribe to this channel and it will keep you updated with upcoming classes, or you can be on our email blast at rrpaintnights.com. I'm sorry, rrpaintnights@gmail.com. And that way you can stay up to date on everything that we're doing. I would also love it if you guys can give any feedback, whether it's constructive criticism, things that you like, things that you didn't like, things that you maybe would like to paint in the future. We are always going to be working with acrylics and different size canvases depending upon the week. And I hope you guys had fun. And again, if you need to, pause along, join us, and we're going to be here every single Tuesday and Thursday at 7 p.m. Hope to see you guys again. Bye.